One of our favorite organizations out there. They have been fighting tooth and nail on behalf of citizens, businesses, academic institutions, professionals, individuals who really through the COVID era, I mean, they do more than just the COVID era, but through the COVID era, they have been absolutely shining stars defending people against the government intrusion into their lives. Sheng is litigation counsel there at the New Civil Liberties Alliance. Do you remember yesterday I shared with you the story of the state of Massachusetts, and I don't totally understand how it works, so hopefully he will shed some light on this today, auto-installing COVID spyware on 1 million phones. Auto-installing. That's the part of it I don't know. So, Sheng, we welcome you to the show today. Thanks so much for your time. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you, Chris. This is a very interesting case, and you're right, it is auto-installing. What happened?
How does that work? I'm so intrigued to learn about what auto-install. Like, when the contact tracing thing happened, I remember that there were a lot of cities and municipalities that were saying, "Hey, download this software and help us track, you or people around you who have COVID." I knew that was sort of a voluntary act, but what's the difference here?
Yeah, that's right. Most of the apps we've seen were adopted voluntarily. Massachusetts decided to go a different way. They actually developed a voluntary version. We think sometime in April 2021, but no one used it. Only 5,000 people or so downloaded it. And then a few months later, what happened was over a million, overnight, over a 2-week period, a new version of the Massachusetts COVID tracking app just started showing up on people's Android phones. And there were on Google Store, you can see there's over 1 million downloads. It stops tracking after 1 million, so it could be well over that number. What Google has said is they worked with the Massachusetts Department of Health to develop and automatically distribute, is the word they use, automatically distribute the app onto everyone's Android phone. What the app does, it's kind of insidious in that it doesn't show up on your home screen like every other app. Instead, you have to go to settings and see all my apps, and then you can see the Massachusetts Department of Health app. So many people don't even know it's on their phones. And we've also heard, and our clients have experienced that when they do find and delete the app, sometimes a few weeks or a few months later, it will show up again on their phone, again without their knowledge or awareness. So it seems like it's a repeated, maybe every time there's an update, it shoots out and everyone in Massachusetts gets it. And you don't even have to live in Massachusetts. We've heard from commuters from Rhode Island, from Maine, from various places that drive through Massachusetts, or just someone who's there, just happened to be there for a weekend on vacation, and they'll have the app on their phone.
And I'm sorry, again, just to be clear, and I'm sorry if you explained it. I just want to make sure I'm crystal clear on how does it get on your phone exactly?
So Google is able to, do automatic updates to basically every Android phone. And so we believe,
and this is specific. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this is specific to Androids as well. I should make that distinction.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've not heard any complaints with respect to Apple phones. So we think this is a Google issue. And what Google does is Google can do updates to your phone all the time. And we think they snuck this in there through one of those updates. And I will say that Google just settled a $400 million lawsuit last week filed by states that alleged Google was improperly tracking their users' locations. And Massachusetts was one of those states and got a $10 million as part of the settlement. But at the same time, Massachusetts has worked with Google here to put its own location tracking app onto its citizens' phones. So I think there's a little bit of irony there, or maybe hypocrisy is the right word.
Sheng is with us, litigation counsel at the New Civil Liberties Alliance. I am, without getting conspiratorial or too hysterical, I'm sincerely trying to understand the circumstances where I'll just assume for now well-intentioned people think this is a good idea. And I do not, look, at the time, in the height of COVID, when they were calling for contact tracing and voluntary sign-ups and apps, it weirded me out and creeped me out then. So, Mr. Lee, I just don't, I don't know about you. I don't know how deeply you've thought about this. You're an attorney first, so I know you're kind of dealing with matters in front of you rather than sitting around philosophizing or opining. But this just seems, everything about this seems contrary to just kind of our basic liberties, the whole concept of it from start to finish.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. When we first heard about this, we were very skeptical too. We're like, that can't be right. New York is doing kind of the same thing. Virginia's doing the same thing, but they're not putting it, secretly on people's phones. Surely something else must be going on. But then we go in and, people are sending us screenshots and showing us how, I don't have an Android, so I didn't know exactly how this worked, but they showed us screenshots and they showed us their phones. And we saw, you didn't download this. We went in on what really sold it is we went on the Google store and looked up the app. If you just type in like Massachusetts COVID tracing app, I think they keep on changing the name. It's most recently been changed to COVID exposure settings US Mass. And
so it's still a thing. It's still an active app today.
Oh yeah, it is, and there's reviews coming in more. When we last saw this, there were maybe 1,800 reviews. Now there's about 2,000 reviews. And they're almost all one-star reviews complaining of how this thing got on their phone, got through their children's, security settings. Because, these parents put security settings so that, their kids can't download apps without their permission. But this thing somehow gets on there. People who commute from New Hampshire complaining that somehow they have a Massachusetts-related app on their phone. It's if you go on there, it's astounding how many of the reviews are just these one-star negative reviews.
And we think that, again, as I'll just give them the benefit of the doubt for a minute. What is the intention here, or what was it, do you think? Or have they even said publicly?
I think they haven't said it publicly yet. I think the intention, I'm trying to be generous here, is back in 2021, I think things were a little up in the air, and they were following all the other states in putting one of these voluntary apps up. And no one was using it. And for these apps, for contact tracing to really work, and I'm not sure even then it works, but if theoretically it's to work, you've got to have millions of people on the system. And so I think maybe it's a little paternalism, I hope. But I think, even if there was some kind of policy justification then, I can't imagine that being the case now, because Massachusetts itself earlier in 2022 has declared that it's ending its statewide contact tracing program because it acknowledges the system doesn't work. Certainly after the Omicron wave, they've basically said this just, you can't do it. This, there's too many people reporting too many infections. There's no way we can track everyone down. And the whole thing just fell apart, and they acknowledge it doesn't work. And yet they still are putting this app up. Look, I just went on the Google store, and we have a negative complaint, one-star review from someone named Tyler Callahan on November 18, 2022. So this is still happening.
It just seems to me at this point, you would think Massachusetts would say, tear the thing down, take it down. But it's still there.
Well,
I find that fascinating.
And again, I want to be as generous as I can to our friends in the state government. And think this is hopefully a result of bureaucratic inertia. Someone put a program in and never, flip the switch and never bother to flip it back off, rather than anything more insidious than that.
Can I, if maybe this is outside your lane and you prefer to not comment, Sheng, Litigation Counsel at the New Civil Liberties Alliance, but let's say, heaven forbid, another pandemic. What's your general opinion on the concept of contact tracing? And hey, put this on your phone and allow the government to help track you like some sort of farm animal. I never liked it. It always horrified me. But what's your official legal position on that?
Well, so certainly our legal position is if it's all voluntary and above board and nobody's being misled, that's we think that's fine. Obviously that wasn't the case here. It doesn't, just because it's legal doesn't mean it's effective or you should do it, of course. We will note that in the Australian government adopted a nationwide contact tracing and did a study on it and found out it did not work, at least for COVID. Maybe for other types of diseases, maybe for Ebola or something like that, contact tracing could be effective. But for something that spreads like COVID, it just overwhelmed the system too quickly, and contact tracing just stopped. I don't know if it ever worked, but certainly by late 2021, by the Omicron wave, it stopped being effective. And any sort of, when there's no effectiveness, you can't really justify invasion of privacy. Even if you could justify invasion of privacy, you can't do it because if the program is not doing anything.
I'm so